All right, welcome back here. Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show is always built by our friends over at R&B Builders. Get in touch with Rhett and the crew at rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com. All right, recruiting is a big event coming up next weekend with the Splash Party in town. Headliner's going to be here. Five-star guy's going to be here. LSU doing work at the end of July. Here to help us out with all of it is Shea Dixon from On3 Recruiting. You can follow Shea on Twitter, as always, at Shea Dixon. Read all of his work at on3.com. Shea D, good to see you.
Good to see y'all, Wave Runners. We were just talking.
That's right.
So next weekend,
go to a pool party?
Next weekend's the Bayou Splash. It's the recruiting pool party. A year ago, I thought I remember there was scuttlebutt that there'd be Wave Runners. That's not going to happen this year, I don't think. But how do you take a pool party to the next level if you're a
Wave Runner would be a
Wave Runner would be up high in the sky.
you move to the lake at that point, right? Like.
Maybe that is a little bit of the background on why the LSU lakes are being revitalized. So Brian Kelly can turn his house into like what Saban does to Lake Tuscaloosa.
You just don't have to go anywhere.
I mean, just like, boys, jump across the street here. I got 10 Wave Runners waiting on everybody. I mean, some of the best content that Bama puts out is that
kind of stuff.
Is that, the day when Saban
where
takes
he's
the
throwing
team,
them off
when he
the
takes
tubes.
the team and takes them to the lake. And puts them on the Wave Runners on the back of the boat. Maybe Kelly's doing that for his LSU Lakes house. I mean, the lakes after 30 years of just taking on sewage.
Right.
I mean, finally has some construction behind it.
What if you just saw like a Bayliner out there running kids around on the LSU lakes? Yeah.
Zip line.
Harold Perkins skiing behind a boat.
We saw Harold Perkins hit the water over the summer.
Kelly gets a full-grown tree built, put in right next to the water just to have a rope swing.
That's right.
Bring some fish in.
Yeah. Go out there and have some fun.
Any takeaways from SEC Media Days? Did you keep up with it?
Yeah, I kept up with it. You mean LSU-wise?
LSU or anything? I mean, really? I mean, I thought everybody. There was no headline statements.
The Jimbo not saying that who was calling plays was interesting. Imagine thinking that like you're keeping secrets by doing that. Publicly hired an OC to call plays, and they're like, "So what do you think about him calling plays?" Like,
who said he called plays?
Who said? Not me.
I don't know who said he was calling plays.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
I thought Kelly did very well.
Yeah,
in and out. Mm-hmm. Be honest about it. I think the biggest thing, which we've said a lot this offseason, is it's so evident that Kelly is in such a different spot than he was a year ago when he was like trying to figure out who was on the team, how to build it, what's the SEC going to be like. Now that you've done it all, I think it makes the offseason a lot easier. You sort of just hone in on what you have to fix.
And just listening and reading from what's coming out of Nashville this week, it seems like everybody's impressed with him. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like there's a glowing marks on Kelly again.
Well, remember a year ago it was fit.
Accent.
It was the fit. Is that a fit down there?
Right, absolutely.
I think you even said fit is win. You'll fit in.
That's right. Best way to fit is a W. All right, so next weekend, they've done a lot of work this summer. What are they expecting next weekend with this?
It's an invite only type thing, so it'll be a select number of guys, but let's say 40 or so, 50 kids come in, bring your parents or coaches or whomever is coming with you, and they just hang out for the day. And really how this sets up is right when June ended. So June was like the evaluation period. They had, not evaluation period, it was an open contact period. They had kids in for official visits, had summer camps, all that. Almost all of July is a dead period, meaning coaches can't see kids at all face-to-face. You can't go see them, you can't have them on campus. For 1 week at the end of July, it opens. Then in August, it goes dead again all the way into the season, like until week 1 of the football season. So all these kids who are announcing before their senior season just have 1 week where they can go visit college coaches, which is the end of July. And pretty much every school does pool parties, barbecues, you name it.
Right.
And everyone sort of jockeys for position and get face to face for the last time and go from there. If Jordy Culotta, what are you hosting? Is this a barbecue? Is this a pool party? Is
fishing
this
tournament?
And then when you lose, you're off
the
as
Hunger
cold.
Games.
Yeah, right. That's your boat.
Everyone's like, "What happened to Colin Simmons?"
Get
Like,
off
man,
the
he's not
island.
on the board anymore. He ended up
Can't fish.
can't fish.
Can't set a line.
Talk about fit.
I mean, we went out there trying to wet a line, and he just wasn't able to do it.
I think the
Can't
pool
hook a
party's
worm.
probably the safest. You know, I think once you get out on the lake, man, I think things become a little. You know, I mean, we got 80 of them.
Yeah, who knows?
You know what I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I'd rather just see him like jump, do cannonballs off
40
the diving
driving the
board.
boat
Yeah,
around.
right, rather than
You got all your life vests?
playing chicken with wave runners in the middle of the lake at each other. You know, what I mean,
We don't need a Quincy Wiggins incident
yeah, I
again.
mean, we're trying to win, boys.
So whether barbecues, pool parties, all that, everyone has something. So you sort of battle this whole month of June to get kids to come. And then I think it's like one of those things, too, almost like getting a commitment where like kids tell everybody they're going to your party. Like,
Right.
I'll be there, coach, no doubt.
Yeah,
And then you're like the day off, you're like,
You coming to the
is he
party or
showing
what?
or what?
It's like high school all over again.
Oh,
We're
it's-
throwing a party like Mom's out of town.
Yeah, we're still
You
over
coming?
at Jimbo's house, man.
Right. Competing parties.
Lloyd's having bad flashbacks and nobody's showing.
Oh,
two-
no.
2 weeks ago.
It was the opposite. I got banned from my own home in high
Caden
school.
Durham, I keep hearing like behind the scenes that LSU feels pretty confident on where they are.
I mean, if you and Caden being the 4-star running back out of Duncanville, if you just sort of read the tea leaves here, his mom was a sprinter in college at OU, and from the beginning, everybody just sort of defaulted Oklahoma as the team he would probably end up at. A lot of Duncanville kids have gone to Oklahoma before, so it sort of naturally made sense that they would be considered the team to beat. Now we fast forward to where we're at ahead of this pool party, and in June he took an official visit to Oklahoma, and right afterwards there was buzz out of Norman like he's about to pop, he's going to commit, and he was supposed to visit LSU that next weekend on an official visit. He doesn't commit. He ends up visiting LSU, but makes it an unofficial visit, pays his own way so that he could save the official visit for later during the season or closer to signing day, and then doesn't commit early in July, announces August 25th as his date, and now he's coming back for the pool party. So the final 2 visits he will have made before he announces were both to LSU. And you're an OU legacy. You've had ample opportunity to commit to OU, and you didn't. Mm-hmm. And you went on a big official visit. They were all at the red carpet, and you didn't commit. Mm-hmm. So something's keeping you from committing. I think it is pretty sincere interest in LSU.
What about his teammate Colin Simmons?
Oh boy, huh? He will be here for the Bayou Picnic as well, Splash event. Number 1 edge rusher in the country. I mean, number 3 or 4 overall prospect in the country. Like, this is as big as it gets for Brian Kelly and the staff to recruit a guy like this. And Texas, LSU, I don't even know if you say NIL is going to be a deciding factor even. I just think it'll be a part of everyone's recruitment now. It's more so selling them on the fit. Your mom's comfortable with it, all these different things. I think they've got I think it's LSU or Texas. It'd be foolish of me to sit here and predict, like, hey, 100% this is where he's going to end up. But he also did say, we'll see when it's going to be. Like we've said forever, this is a kid who it'll get decided like the night before signing day. Like that's when you'll know where he's going or where he'll end up figuring it out. Now he said he's going to announce a decision date, reveal a decision date here soon. He might be doing it before the season. Like Caden Durham's doing his. He said it on this show, August 25th. Yeah. That's their week 1 game where they celebrate their state title from a year ago and all get their rings or whatever they're doing. But they're having a big celebration before the South Oak Cliff game. Maybe Colin Simmons says, I'm doing my announcement that day too. A little double dose.
Yeah. Kai Bates, 4-star cornerback, is going to announce his decision, I believe, in next week.
Yeah, next week. Early on, I had thought LSU is the team to beat, and they were. I mean, that was even out of Kai's mouth. He was like, look, LSU's out front here. I think as time went on, you get into the month of June, Bama, Tennessee, Florida State, Ohio State, a bunch of schools hosted him for visits, LSU. I've heard a lot of buzz around Tennessee. People up at Tennessee feel good about it. We'll see. Robert Steeple still has, a week or so now to try to close this, and maybe Kai is leaning to LSU. He's very quiet, like a Javian Toviano a year ago. But I don't know. Just when you kind of talk to each college, kind of like, hey, what's the feel you are getting? Tennessee people are like, hey, the staff up here thinks they got him. So we'll see, but he's an elite corner. And that's the one thing they have to do. Look, they already have Andre Evans, the number one player in Tennessee, committed to LSU. He's a corner. But what is it? Last year they took everyone who played corner was a transfer. This year you're imagining, beyond LaTerrence Welsh, that everyone that's playing corner is a transfer. Mm-hmm. It's like eventually you got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So that means recruiting high-level high school kids. And unless Derek Stingley, unless you got another 5-star rolling out of bed and going over to Dunham and then he's right there for you, you got to go out and find him. So it's if they miss on him, it stings because you want to start landing elite corners and building that back up. Like we can remember a stretch where wide receiver and corner were two things you never worried about. Right. It was like they've got them like in spades every day. You'll be good. Now it's at corner at least. You're in the transfer portal taking 4 guys a year. Like that's not a. Kelly said that this week. Is that a recipe for success? No, because you don't know what you got. Like yeah, Denver Harris is good. And like yeah, Zy Alexander's good, but he was playing at Southeastern. How's the jump? And as Kelly said, you don't even have those answers till you play Florida State and you actually see live action. What do these guys look like?
3 of the top defensive uncommitted players in the state are Dominic McKinley, Tylen Singleton, and then Wardell Mack. Where does LSU stand with them, and what's their plans next weekend?
All 3 will be here.
Oh, wow.
Which is
that's huge.
Breaking news right there. But, yeah, all 3 will be here. Mack is coming in, then going to Florida on a visit. We'll see if he makes the Florida trip. But he's going to announce before his senior year at John Ehret. Tylen Singleton out of Maine, he's coming down for the visit. He'll announce before he's going to announce the next week or 2. But before his senior year at Manny. And then Dominic McKinley, I don't think he'll announce before his senior year at Acadiana, but he will be in next weekend. So the 3 uncommitted guys that they've offered in Louisiana that they have not yet gotten a commitment from, they have gotten a commitment from everybody else in Louisiana pretty much that they have offered. So you've locked down the state so far, but these are 3 top 10 guys, and Mack and McKinley are the number 1 and 2 players in the state. So to really lock down the state, you're wanting to get those guys. And I think they've really gone into overdrive on those 3 and Durham and Simmons. And there's like so much of how they have to close is with the biggest names on the board. So massive to get them in for the pool party.
LSU usually dominates the state of Louisiana. That's not a story. But they rarely get like all top 10 of the players.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is that kind of what's going to happen this year?
It could happen.
Right. How rare is that?
Somewhat. I mean, especially when Bama or someone's coming in and grabbing a guy, a year, then you could lose. It was really just been Bama, though, that's been able to, over the years, get like Hootie Jones or, whomever. I know in the transition year they got a lot of guys. Shaz, Aaron Anderson's back here now, Kendrick Law. But in a normal year, I'd say 1 maybe or 2 guys leave the state. Maybe sometimes it's a guy else who's not in on or didn't offer, who's like the number 9 player in the state. And they just view him in a different light or in a fit or whatever it might be. But I'd have to look it up. I can't remember a time that they got all, like when the rankings were finalized, all 10 players, like top 10 players in Louisiana went to LSU.
Yeah.
So it would be rare.
What are you getting the sense of Frank Wilson's role now compared to where he was when he was the recruiting coordinator? I think it kind of feels like that's his role, but is that his role?
Yeah, I think it's like the "I'm the captain now" moment. I think you can give him any title you want. And he's like,
"Let me do it."
BK, right. Look at me. I'm running that. I'm running this thing.
I'm on
up.
it.
Right. So I don't think the role title matters as much as the reality that behind the scenes he's going to handle most everything recruiting wise. Certainly when it comes to Louisiana, and he's going to recruit running backs. I mean, he's running the Caden Durham stuff, but I think more so than anything, making sure with kids, like when it comes to closing, that all the ducks are in a row. Right. So I think he's your default recruiting coordinator right now. The
staff in the way that they are kind of being distributed out at this time, what's the responsibility? How is this staff? What's their reputation like as recruiters?
Good. I think a lot of them are. I mean, you got some young guys on staff. Robert Steeples has only been a college coach for 2 years. 1 year. So, I mean, a lot of guys, some guys are young. You've got veterans like Kerry Cooks. You've got guys coming back from the NFL like Matt House. So I think there's a good blend. It's interesting. A lot of that's on defense. So, like, on offense, you've got Frank. You've got Brad Davis, who's already here. You've got Joe Sloan, who spent a decade in Louisiana at La Tech and, knows the lay of the land. You've got Den Brock, who's coming straight from Cincinnati, being an OC and certainly recruits. So defensively is kind of where you're keeping an eye on things, I think. See how things play out.
Absolutely. What about from the standpoint of, we talked about offensive line and how much success that they've had at that spot in recruiting. They picked up Ethan Callaway, obviously. How many more do you see in this class that could jump aboard?
And they've got Kyrie Lee out of John Ehret. Ori Williams, Blake Ivy are two more big names that they're really on. I mean, Blake Ivy will be in for the Bayou Splash. Ori Williams, I think, might be coming for the Bayou Splash. He's kind of quiet. I've got to text him and see. But those are the two biggest names I'd be looking for right now. And ultimately, I think you want 4. That's usually a good number to take on the O-line. But if you go beyond that, then maybe we see a senior season eval, something like that. But I'd keep an eye on those two names, Blake Ivy and Ori Williams. Ivy being down to LSU and A&M. He's in an A&M heavy area. And then Ori Williams, he's from San Marcos. I don't think they do anything. Unless you're going to Texas State, you're just floating the river up there and hanging out. So right. I don't know who's the true competition beyond LSU. Florida's in the mix a little bit, but if he does announce anything soon, I would think LSU's the team to beat there.
And then real quick on 2025, how much do they start to look ahead to that class when you're having events like this?
Yeah, there's some 25 kids coming in for this event. So you are looking ahead. You are trying to sort of start carving out kind of a role and a spot with these kids for next year. We've seen, I think Keelan Moses will end up being kind of the leader of that class in state. They like to do that too, is get a kid on board and then have them kind of really help steer the boat and get others in. So I'd bet there's 5 to 10, 20, 25 guys that'll be in, like DeCorian Moore, another Duncanville kid, a 5-star receiver. That Duncanville team's insanely stacked. He'll be in. So they'll have 5 to 10 kids from that 25 class in town. They'll have some 26s. Lamar Brown over at U High will be there. So
the offensive lineman?
Offensive line, defensive line, he plays both.
Yeah.
They said he works out with the receivers over there.
They have a sophomore linebacker, too, he transferred from Parkview.
Is good. You saw Chad Jones's kid's about to be a sophomore.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Rohan's kid just went through there, so we're getting old, boys.
Yeah,
it's true. I don't know about you. We're and used to it, but Jordy.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to see you. What about Jabari Antoine?
He'll be here out of Westgate. So obviously Stewie's worried about his neck of the woods. You've got to put an end to the rarely, if ever, did an Acadiana area, even going all the way to New Iberia, kids leave the state for to go back-to-back years with Danny Lewis going to Alabama. And this is after Keishon Butte came here. Danny Lewis went to Bama. Derek Williams, which is kind of a bigger hit for you, a year ago goes to Texas. Now Jabari Antoine's the number 2 corner in the country. He's coming through Westgate. So I think you want to kind of stop the bleeding. And they've got a commitment right now from Demarion Johnson, a D lineman out of Westgate. So you look towards next year. If you can make it 2 in a row, then you feel like, okay, like we're not losing guys out of New Iberia anymore. And rarely, if ever, were they losing Lafayette and New Iberia kids to anywhere. That whether it was North Louisiana, even New Orleans area, you'd have guys leave. Guys weren't leaving Lafayette to go somewhere else. So you don't want to have that be a trend that starts.
What's coming up on the site?
Covering the Splash.
Yeah.
Covering the Splash. You know, I'm going to be like the guy who snuck into the spring game.
That's
out on the field.
Are you there?
No, but you remember the guy at the spring game? Right. I'm going to be there, just out on the field standing.
That was a real game. That wasn't even the spring game.
Oh, that was a real
against
game.
Southern. Right. Marwan. Well, whoever his connect is, I need to find out. Yes, that man was on planet Pluto.
He could already tell me what happened at the Splash.
Doctor Strange, that whole thing.
They're going to get Simmons on. Shea Dixon, read his stuff at On3, at Shea Dixon on Twitter. Athletics director from LSU, Scott Woodward, in studio next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders.
Yeah, I'm just glad I could get a little opener here.
Fluffer.
The opening act.
If you want to feel real old, Draker Patrick Jr. is up in the 2024 class.